This is Shorthammer. It is the 11th of October 2020, and this is Trading Zones. I am absolutely worn out. Helped family move this weekend, and I am definitely Sergeant Murtaugh. Neither here nor there. So, take a look at the market at the MES, and what's interesting is remember last week when I did this video, we were here, right? And we were selling. And, we always think when we're going down that it's nonstop. And we always think when we're going up that at any moment it can stop. And what's funny is look at this reversal on the week. And regardless of the news, a lot of shorts really got stopped out. You got to really be so careful, and you have to be directionally agnostic. It doesn't matter what you think. Just look at the chart. Whatever the chart is telling you is what you should do. So if we're looking at this, just look at the structure and the area that, I was really watching when we were getting close to the end of the week was this 34.48. And why was I watching 34.48? Look at this candle structure here. And it's two things. I'll get into both things, but let me get into this first. When you see this candle structure, this means numerous times we rejected, and the buyers were unable to get us through here for multiple days. Look at all these days that we're trying to get through, couldn't get through, finally broke through, and we're gone. So here we had the same challenge where the initial tests, right? And we kind of petered around here, but we're building a bullish formation above. Where can we go from here? The next stop we have is potentially 34.98. Could we sell back through 34.48? That's possible. But this is just a strong push through, and we closed above this area. So for next week, being even though I'm directionally agnostic, even if we back test that 34.48, this area to me, based on this structure here and this structure here, I'll be looking for buyers if we pull back. And if we pull back below that, then my next level will be 34.24 is where I'd look for buyers. The other thing to remember is so we were right below this 33.56. So we were below that when the week started. Look to your left. You saw the rejections up here around 33.84, right? And so when we were making this run, that first close over this 33.83.50 area, you had to really watch it closely. Look at this. Over, under, over, and squeeze. So you can see these areas where you had slight resistance, where you had an issue getting through in the past, that we were just ramrodding through those on this squeeze up. So this is insane. So we'll see how far this goes. But for me on the intraday, like I utilize not just my horizontal lines, the supply demand zones, but I utilize at least this pivot script. Please excuse the yawning. Definitely worn out to be able to help me grab those intraday plays. So whatever you use intraday, keep an eye on these lines. To the upside, 34.98, 35.25, 35.34. To the downside, we have 34.48, 34.24, and 33.83. The way that I play it, over under, if it's over the line, I try to get in, average, not average, but scale out and leave a runner to try to hit the next line. If it fails, stop out, break even. If I get stopped out, I get stopped out. Look to re-enter on another bullish formation if I'm still thinking long. Break it back below the line, so back below 34.48, I would get short. Same thing, scale out and leave one for a run. If it doesn't go, stops me out, break even, that's fine. And that's one of the strategies that I use when we have strong directional movement. But above this area, this does look strong. We have to see how far we can go. This looks interesting on that rise. On the Russell, insane. Look at that. Just taking off, right? And what's funny with the Russell is it looked what's the word, more decisive, right, as far as directional, more decisive than the I won't say S, but then the MES was looking, right, more directional than S&P. And look at this push, even on the pulls, look how strong this is. So if we're looking at our lines, we're back above the 1630. So to the downside, we have 1612, and all this structure here, this 1606, all the way down to the 1590s. There's structure, and below that 1560. But we'll see if we can get there. But there's a lot of structure, a lot of candle structure here. When I see candle structure, I like it a lot. So you kind of have to zoom out and see past structure. And this may look a little crazy because of how small this may look. For me, I have a really nice size screen, so I can still see all the levels really clearly. Perfectly, you can see the same on your screen. So this is the 1640s where we are, and we see we are above this 1630 area. We do see a few tops here. Look here, where we did pull back here. We pull back. So we have to see if, and we have some bottoms. Here's a bottom. Here's a bottom. A little bit of candle. So we have some candle structure here, right? So what we have to see is, and look here, right around this 1647-ish, 1645-ish. You saw the initial dip when we pull back. We kind of hit our head around that pullback was around the 1645, so right around the same area that we are here, right around this area. That pullback roughly in this area before the strong drop down. So this is like bear flag, resolve to the downside, sell. So we'll see how this plays out if we're able to buy up above this, hold above the 1630. If so, next up is 1662. Then above that we have the 1702. If we do pull back below the 1630s, watch the 1612s, then the 1560s. We'll see how this shakes out. And let me open up Amazon. So you see, we open the week up, then a pullback, then a squeeze, then just insane. Look at that. You got to be so careful when you try to guess direction, because you can get rocked. So let's get rid of this bad boy here. And you can see just here, look at that. So if you're a trend, and excuse me if I meander a little bit, I am a little bit tired, and tired people do tend to meander just a little. Just a little. If you're into trend lines, you could have drawn one here this way. Actually, I wouldn't have drawn a trend line here, to be honest. Not on that pullback. Not for me. That's not near. I'm not even going there. I wouldn't draw that, because I don't. It's not enough of a wave for me to think that. Look at that as a trend. That I would draw a line on. But some people would draw this line, but just not me. Yeah, I wouldn't draw that. So either way, we're above 32.68. Looking to the left, we can see a rise into this candle structure here around the 33.21s, potentially, maybe a little bit higher. So even at this 32.96, 32.68, even at this area, we can still see a pullback at this 33.25. What you have to keep in mind is that earnings is coming up for Amazon. It's like the 22nd, so not too far away. Not next week, but the week after. So this thing should be running, and that premium, excuse me again, that premium should be getting insane. If you're trading options on Amazon and you just do not want to pay that premium juice, and you also aren't that interested in how much sort of the premium gain as the volatility goes up, go ahead and use verticals or something like that to be able to capture some of this move. If you feel it's going up or if you feel it's going down, whatever you feel, you can use vertical to capture the move. So my what I'll be watching for on Amazon, above this 32.68, the next stop I have is 33.44. Then above that, 33.70, 33.86, and 34.33. To the downside, below this, if we pull back, I have 31, what's this area? 93. Then below that, 30.68. So how would I play this? If we draw back below 32.68, I want a clear break below, and then I will be in fading this, and I'll be out quickly. I don't know if it's going to go all the way down to this 31.93 area. But if we do get back below 32.63, like for me, I'll be watching the base of this candle down here around 32, what's this? 32.44.90. And I'd want to sell below that and then drop back down to the 31.90s. But I may do a quick scalp below 32.68 if I was going to play this. I'm not touching Amazon, not with the way the premium's going, like not at all. But that's the Amazon structure. I think it's interesting. They're trying to break this thing out. There should be a pullback. So if you're bullish on this, don't chase it. Just wait for your pullback. And on that day that it pulls back, that's when you can sort of jump in for the retest or the squeeze back up with the continuation. But just wait for a pullback, whether it's an intraday pullback or if it's a pullback on the daily, sort of something like this, where you see this looks like we're going to run forever, nonstop. Then we pull back. Then the next day we kind of chop around, pull back, chop around. Let's see. So you see, this is like you're getting those green days. So you sort of wait for that slight red day, then wait for the next green day to see if you can catch a move based on the setup or the structure. So we'll see. But Amazon, bullish. So this is how it looks. It looks bullish. But don't be a chaser. Netflix is up next. And similar to that Amazon chart, it's running away from us, right? We're above that 535. So 529, we're above that. We had a sort of a leapfrog out of this 507 area. We're talking about the over-unders if you watch our last video. Above the 507 and bullish. The next thing you want to look for is a push into the 529s. But what you can also do to protect yourself is when you get that over, you want to sort of get in more than one contract, or if you take one contract, when you get that pop, begin to scalp out. And for me, what I do is I look at previous candle structure and these upper wicks. And that is when I start to see something rise into an area where I see previous rejection with as far as upper wicks or lower wicks, I'm going to be exiting out of that. So I'm not going to hold much beyond that. That's just me. I won't be holding much beyond that. I'll be out rather quickly. So this pullback and then the buyback over and the squeeze and the pop and the break above, that's beautiful. Right. So we'll see if we get continuation here. See a few small candles. Let's see if we can pop this. But just watch your level. So the upside 542, 550, 567. To the downside, you want to watch out for this 535, 529. Like the volatility is insane right now. So just be careful what you play if you're playing options. Things can get crazy real quick. And the news cycle is also insane. Excuse me. NVIDIA. So we see a pullback below the 555. I'll be watching NVIDIA closely next week. A buddy of mine did mention that AMD had some news, I believe, into the close on Friday that may adversely affect NVIDIA. So we'll see. So I'll watch for it. We'll see what happens. But I will be watching NVIDIA this upcoming week to see what she does. So above this 555, we have this 589, and to the downside we have 531, 514, then 475. If this dips down, I would definitely be looking for buyers if it dips hard enough around this 531. If it pops back over the 555, just be careful and watch it. And I would watch for a rise above this candle structure here, where it looks like multiple days it couldn't get through 565. If we do clear 565, we might be testing all-time highs. So definitely keep an eye on NVIDIA. Microsoft. Mm-hmm. There we are right here. Push up, then a pullback. The funny thing about Microsoft, if you remember our last video, what we were mentioning was the drop here made a higher high. The drop here, roughly the same, is a higher low, right? Same area. Push. We didn't make a higher high. We did go back to the downside. We didn't really make a clear lower low. There was no close below this area. Buyers pushed us back up, made a higher high. So I want to see what happens around this 217. That is an area that, based on this color, this is usually my swing door areas where I feel if we get over that, we get a nice little squeeze to the top, maybe a push through. And if we reject again, we can get a sell down below the 215s. So we'll see if we can get over 215.84. And if we do, I'll be watching for the 217s. I probably will not be playing this until we either break clearly over 217 or clearly reject this 215 and go back to the downside. But these levels that we have are this 208 area was the area that we were watching. And this 208.05 is actually below an area that was really interesting. It was so funny this week, was interesting. So this past week on Microsoft, I was stopped out twice at that 208.57-ish, 50, just the 208.50s to 60s. I ended up getting stopped out twice, but I did make the money back on that on a few other scout plays on Microsoft, because the over under, what I was expecting was continuation, and I did end up getting it, but it kind of played with me on the intraday a few times, how it sort of pushed up, then it sort of went right back down to that 208.50, 50s area. And it bounced a few times, right? And one time I was actually on the wrong side of that. And when it went up, I I ended up averaging when I shouldn't have, made a mistake on that and took a slight hit, then sort of scalped that back. But don't be afraid to be wrong. Being wrong is, part of trading, part of life. The question is not about you, being incorrect in what you believe will happen. It's how do you adapt and overcome whatever that drawdown is. And if you have a significant drawdown, you don't have to get it back all in one day. There's no rush. Just take your time. And it's just keep your drawdown small. And when you get, when you're right about a play, let it run a little bit. It'll definitely save you from a lot of times losing your account. So definitely keep, when you see that drawdown, just make sure you get it out as quickly as possible. And when it's running, sometimes it's hard, but stay in as long as possible. And when you see it running into an area, try to scale out if you have multiple contracts or if you have a ton of shares. So either way, so above this 215.71, where it seems that we were, 215.84, 217.70, 221.75, and 229.54. Below this area, 213, this 208 area, which I think is pretty significant, and 202 is also well, not significant, also an area below this 208 that we can go to. But if we do drop, I'll be watching these 204s, 205s, because it seems that at that area, buyers feel that there's value. So buyers have stepped in. And so that's the area that I would watch on Microsoft. If you are a perma bear, I would watch to see, making a setting alert here, that if we ever clearly close below this area, then 202s and probably 195s are coming up. So I'll add an alert. That's fine. But I think if we get below that area, I would expect us to see a little bit of selling, and not just a wick below, a close below that area should be interesting. Facebook being Facebook, and just no bullish advancement above the 264s. So for me, even though we had this bounce here, this wasn't something that I touched this past week, and I'm not going to touch it this upcoming week unless we get a clear break above the 264s. But for those who may be playing about 264, you have 279, then 291 below the 264. Right in this area, the 261s and the 254s. We'll see how that shakes out. But I'm just watching. This just feels like more of a sideways consolidation type of move right now, even though you see the range here. I don't like that range. I'd like a bigger range here. So I'll wait to see what happens with Facebook. DLTR. And this is funny. So we've talked about this area numerous times. It's 86, 74 to 89.42, and back above test pop. So this is just an interesting area that you want to watch and look to the right, to the left, I should say. Numerous times, it's been an area of contention. So on the buyback up and above, I'm going to play this and see if it holds. So it's a nice squeeze. So what you want to watch for from here is, do we retrace from the 93.50 to 94? Do we retrace back down to 91.47, then take the next leg up? That will be constructive. If not, we may squeeze through. So what I would watch was a pullback to the 91s, and I want to see what happens there if the buyers do step in. If not, do we see a dip into the 89? So I would prefer a pullback to 91.47. Take a little bit of profit here and drop back into this area, and then buyers step in and give us a push through 94.69. Then we get to squeeze into 97.73. That's what I would like to happen. We'll see how that shakes out after I hop off. I'm gonna set a few alerts on DLTR, but the levels that we do have are below this zone is 84.15 and 79.47. This zone itself is 86.74 by 89.42. The next stop above that is 91.47, then 94.69. If we pop 94.69, keep an eye out for 97.73. And you can just look at this past candle structure. If you want to see sort of areas where in between these supply and demand zones, you may see a little bit of turbulence. CMG, slight pullback here, but just a rise, and not like a big pop, but just consistent squeeze to the upside. Earnings is coming. I'll wait for earnings and see which direction that we go. and I will be playing that post earnings. So I'm just waiting for CMG and watching CMG. But for those still playing, a pop up 1296, 1348, and 1394 is possible. If we go back to the downside, then you want to keep your eye on the 1270s, 1239s. Look at this area. It was an area that we see the wicks. We couldn't close above for a few days. We finally closed above. What you want to see out of here is decisive bullish candlesticks, right? We finally got above this 1270 area, and you want to see the bulls take control and pop this through 1296 and run this into 1348. Preferably prior to earnings is sort of the best. And also remember that CMG will expand or can expand on earnings, $75 or more in either direction. It's possible. Like it's happened quite a few times actually. It's more probable than not, but just giving you a heads up. So look at McDonald's. Nice pop here. Look at that print. Drop back below. We'll see if the buyers step into this level and run us even higher. Um, I am not currently in McDonald's and not playing it right now, but look at that pop. And we were watching this build up. We did mention it. What to watch for. Me, preferably, if I want to be long this, I would prefer that this begins to pop, sort of pushes above that 226, goes sideways, like just consolidation, and then just bullish candles above that. We'll see. Not going to be too long here because, oh man, I am worn out. Um, Taking a peek at Tesla, same thing. This sort of sidewaysy action. I don't like the range in here, but this thing is going to expand soon. With earnings right around the corner, you're going to get a nice expansion. So if we pop over the 435, next up is 454, then 473. I might actually be looking for a play on Tesla soon, just based on this structure. If we, yeah, look at that. So I'll be watching Tesla because usually it goes from just like Amazon. Tesla's so funny. It goes from consolidation to expansion, and this looks like it may be ready to expand soon, especially with earnings around the corner. I would expect to move here. In fact, I'm going to look for I'm going to actually make a note here, and I am going to contact Lisa because I would like a complex option strategy to be able to play this because I think that they may give us a slight run into earnings that will be interesting. And I would like to play this with a complex strategy that's sort of limited risk. So we'll see what I can get here. But I do like hmm, it maybe it sells, maybe it runs. So I might just play both directions. We'll see. But definitely liking the structure here of Tesla. I think it's interesting when Tesla doesn't move much in either direction within a week, just relatively. There's a move coming, and so I'll be watching Tesla. But look at these upper wicks here. The inability to get over 454 and gain bullish traction is interesting. And even with this pullback, we didn't really go anywhere. So that's interesting on Tesla. Checking out Goldman Sachs, and one of the things that we talk about on Goldman Sachs is watch this zone, and it's trying to get us above this zone. We'll see what happens. We were at the midpoint last time, and buyer stepped in, gave us a nice little squeeze to the upside to test the top. So now you want to see if we can stay above. If we go back inside, look for a dip, potentially back to the 197s. It tends to ping pong back and forth, but keep an eye out. Look at this. Next week, earnings season begins. Bank earnings. So I will wait for that data to come out, and whatever direction that the market chooses is the direction that I will follow on banks. So that should be interesting, but I'll wait to see what that direction is. Pulling up the SPY. SPY looks insane. Popped over the areas that we thought were significant, right? And we got bullish advancement above the 339. Look where we are now. So we'll see how this next week plays out. To the downside, we have 344.80s. To the upside, 351.40s. Um, at least up until the banks report. I think we continue to squeeze a little bit, but we'll see. Like, never try to project. Just wait for the movement, whether you're on multi-day, weekly, monthly, whatever chart that you're using to trade. Wait for that signal based on that time frame, and then just follow the direction of the market. If the market's going down, go down. The market's going up, go up. Just follow the direction of the market. Don't try to overthink this. And this could at any point can this sell back through all this and roll over and flush, and it's possible. But wait for the signal that that's going to happen. Don't try to guess the top. So we'll be keeping an eye on this. If we break back below 344.82, I'll keep my eye out for a dip into the 339s, maybe to the 337s. We'll see how this works out. But I'll be keeping an eye on the SPY closely. Definitely like trading the SPY. If you enjoyed this video and the content, please tap that like button. And if you would like to receive more content like this, please subscribe to our channel, Power of Pivots, where you can look forward to receiving more videos from me and also videos from Elisa as she goes through the process that she uses when she utilizes her Power of Pivots strategy and script that she created, which allows her to find great intraday plays, great swing plays, and great pre-market plays. Thank you so much for your time. Remain safe and have a wonderful week of trading. And get out and vote. I think it's that time. So make sure you do your civic duty.